And we are back finally, even though I'm pretty sure we were live last Friday. Welcome back, guys, to yet another Midnight Will podcast. This week has been a little slow for me, so it's felt like forever, and definitely the editing process because
we don't talk about it.
Yeah, that video came out like right before we went live.
Yeah, like an hour before this podcast, it was out.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome back, guys. Today, we're going to be talking about the very thing that dragged me through this week, which is willpower. Because, I don't know, I found it somewhere in me. Like, I just woke up Monday, I'm like, I wish it was Friday. And I know that's like with every Monday. But, like, I just wasn't feeling it. And on Friday, I'm like, I wish it was Saturday. Like, a lot of people wake up on Friday and they're like, thank God it's Friday. Not me. I'm just like, I'm going back to bed.
Honestly fair.
I wish I could do that, though.
And very quick warning, there will be no podcast next week, Friday the 25th, due to both me and Zenith being busy that Friday.
We got vacations. So.
Yes. Expect no podcast next week.
Yes, sir.
But with all that out of the way, back to this one.
I was literally about to say that. With that out of the way, we're gonna continue on this subject of willpower. Actually,
you're so good at this.
It's kind of productive because I think of a podcast about willpower and I go, we're going to be super energetic and have all these motivational speeches. This week has not been motivational whatsoever. Nope. So I would like to do a chillax podcast, but to be honest, we didn't have the motivation to think of a better topic. So here we are. Did not. Here we are talking about willpower, which... very little
something
left.
I think we need a little bit more of when it comes to this podcast.
I think we need to put in a little bit more, get a little bit of a higher GPA on our podcast scores.
Yes.
It's kind of sinking. We got like a C+ right now.
Speaking of grades, I guess probably one of the first things I think of, and most likely a lot of people, whenever they hear the word willpower, they probably think of like school. Waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
Just literally just to get out of bed. And that's like the first bit of willpower you gotta use.
Oh, that defines your whole day. Think about that for a second. Like when you wake up and you've had one of those weeks where you're just like, nope. But like when you wake up, you have to make the conscious decision. This 2-second decision right here, every single morning, this 2-second important decision will affect my entire week if I don't get out of this bed.
Yep.
Entire month, maybe. Like, even if you work, you miss a day? Like, I don't know. Depends. Like, it really depends.
Like, I feel like everyone has those mornings where, like, they'll just instantly be good, like, ready with energy.
Yeah.
And those are usually on the days when something important or fun is going to happen at school. Or at least for me, like
it's
I know
if like rare, though.
For me, engineering day when we went down to do our little competition, I was super excited for that. And so everything was on the top of my mind that I needed, and so I got out of bed really early that morning. So like at 6 o'clock, I was out of bed. Usually, I stay in bed until like 6:15, 6:20. And instead of pressing snooze, I've changed it to just setting a timer for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because that actually makes me like have to click on my alarm or my clock app. Then I have to click on the timer. And it's automatically on 5 minutes, so all I have to do is press start. But either way, like making those movements instead of just pressing snooze is so much better for me to like actually get up.
I've developed
because I'm still having to move.
Instead of what I would do is I'd set an alarm an hour early. And not kidding, this is my motivation for the mornings. I would set an alarm an hour early, and each 15-minute interval, I'd have another alarm. So each 15 minutes, I'd wake up from deep sleep just to think about school, and then go back to sleep. And then the hour that I have to get up, I just go, well, I mean, I've been spending an hour of excruciating pain. I might as well get out of bed. Because, and that's my body speaking that basically, right? But now I'm I value my sleep a little bit more. That hour definitely counts. So now I wake up 15 minutes earlier than I need to get out of bed. And then I started using the snooze button. And basically I'd either lay there for 15 minutes contemplating like if I want to get up, or I fall right back asleep, and then at 45 I'm just like, ugh. Like 5:45 a.m. That's when I have to get out of bed.
See, like, I usually try to get out of bed at 15 to 20. Any longer than that, and I'm
or 5.
Yeah, no, 6:15 or 6:20, and then that's pushing it.
I have to be ready by 6:20 to get out the door.
Oh God. For me, we don't leave the house until like 7:10, 7:15. And I know, it's so nice. But granted, I live like I can walk to school.
Oh, I can't. Yeah.
Like it takes me like 10 minutes
I
at a
used
slow
to
pace.
from a middle school. I used to be able to walk to school. I never did, but and it's still because it's like, oh, I'd wake up at 6:30 anyway and get on the bus at like 6:45. But so that wasn't too bad. But like now at the high school, it's like, well, you're either walking distance or you aren't, because now it's 10 minutes away. So
Yeah.
now I can't leave the house, and I just have to wait till I'm able to drive. I get that luxury.
Yeah. Hey, but I mean, just stay strong and pull some more of that willpower to, I don't know, push to get that license.
We've been talking about school for like 11 minutes.
Yeah, we have.
Which is fair.
I mean, what other besides school would you think of for willpower?
I mean, yeah, well, school, work falls under the same subject. Just depends on where you're at in your life, because it's still the same kind of contemplation in the morning. Like, but
Do I want to call in sick today?
yeah, honestly, let me take one of those mental health days. Yeah, did you know that? Like, I think it was like across the country where people can get 5 mental health days per semester.
What?
And that's a valid excuse. Like, you could just 1 week be like, fuck it, I don't want to go to school this week, and just take it off.
My band director would never believe that existed.
Yeah.
I took a mental health day for band. I think it was the Monday after a competition that we had went to, and my band director, and this was during marching band, was just fuming that day. Like the day of the competition, it was already a train wreck. No one was in a good mood. When we got there, the bus ride wasn't even that enjoyable because it was like 30 minutes, or it was an odd number. It was like 45, it was like 44 minutes. So it wasn't like a short bus ride, but it wasn't like an enjoyable, like pretty decently long bus ride. So it was right there in the middle, and it's just like, ew. So we get there, no one's in a good mood, and we played good, but it was humid and like almost rainy. Like pretty foggy. So everyone's just in this dreary mood. And we just didn't do good at the competition. We got a pretty low score. We didn't get last, but it was just pretty bad. So I and a quarter of the band was just like, we are not going to go Monday.
Yeah.
Screw that. I forgot to send an email.
Oh.
I forgot to send my excuse. And I was the only one. I was the only one he told to come to the band room the next day. And was like, meet me in the band room before class or before school. And I go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And I had to explain to him, I was just like, I wasn't having it that day. Like, it was just not a good day. I went home. I'm sorry. And he was just like, this isn't acceptable. You need to be more responsible. And I'm like, okay. And so then I go to school. And then I went home that day.
Yeah, but like, it is like now a law that schools are required to accept that as an excuse.
Really?
But I mean, because it's not like all of a sudden all school systems just unanimously agree, no, it has to be a law for something like that to happen, right? Just like sick days. But
Well, I mean, yeah, you can always just do that.
they might
Like,
have their own state variations, but like the same the premises, you know, you're basically they're allowed to do like whatever the school can do to you while you're on a sick day, basically. And you know, that doesn't mean that schools have to think lightly of it, because if you take a week off, that doesn't mean the teachers are going to be nice to you. They might still give you work, right?
oh yeah, no. Like,
So yeah.
I'll let you finish, but as soon as you're done, I have something to say.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna speak immediately. But I think especially for like coaches, for athletes, like taking like 2 to 5 mental health days in a row, you're just gonna get cut.
Oh yeah,
Like it might be law, and it's within their power to do that, and they're totally fine with that. But that applies to like it's a dodgy area. That applies to school, basically saying that you can't count them absent, and that's the only thing that law like protects you from, right?
Mhm.
And at that point, it doesn't even matter, because if you were counted absent those 5 days and got all your schoolwork done, it's better than like having all these missing assignments, basically all of your fucking grades being dropped to an F, and then not being counted absent.
dude. Like, you could be sick and people would still be like, or your coach or whatever would still be like, that's unacceptable. And I'm just like, what?
Oh yeah, no.
Like, I've seen people like get COVID. Like one of my really good friends, he's a tenor player. Through
Tenor?
marching band, he got
Oh, I was thinking of tennis and you said tenor. I'm like, did you
oh my
mispronounce
god,
it?
no, tenor sax player.
Yeah.
He got COVID during marching season, and it was so bad that it gave him respiratory issues. They're better now.
Oh yeah. I would
But
die.
he just couldn't march. And my band director didn't hate him, but he definitely was just like, "Ugh, he can't march." And I'm like,
Okay.
what?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna get angry at him? Like, it
It's
wasn't
raining
his
outside.
fault.
This is nice.
Oh yeah, well, it was raining outside for me. But not only that, how do people just miss school? Like, they just say, "Oh yeah, I just didn't feel like coming today." I'm like,
Huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
what? I
now,
can't
now you're gonna
afford
be
that.
like, now you're gonna be like 7 assignments like due, and you're gonna have to do like basically twice the amount of work the next day.
Heaven forbid I miss a day of physics. Oh my god, I miss a day of physics. I've missed like the whole beginning of a unit.
Yeah.
We finished this unit in a week. Now, granted, it was a really easy unit.
I mean, same thing with
but-
chemistry, because we're taking. I mean, yeah, chemistry is just a college level class. But imagine that, like, chemistry for us is year long for high school, and it's dual credit.
Same.
But like, chemistry
Not
in
dual
college
credit,
is a semester,
You.
and like we just finished our like unit in a week. Like that'd be half a week for college. That's AIDS.
Like, the only classes that I could like this year. Next year will be a different story though. I could probably miss a good 2 days and still be fine. So I'm taking chemistry next year. I love chemistry. Like, I love physics and chemistry, but chemistry is just easier because it's chemistry. It can't be that hard. But that class I could probably miss a day, be fine catching up. Engineering, oh my god, it's a breeze. Like, I could miss a week and then still be caught up and most likely ahead. That class is super easy, and especially with these new classes that I'm getting, which is basically just like design this thingy and move on. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
easy, done. But you just gotta stay motivated and still have that, will to just keep doing it, even if
Mhm.
you just don't want to go to school that day.
Yeah.
That's always what I've done.
So when it comes to willpower for me, my first thought that actually comes to mind is like athleticism. And the extreme to that is fucking like Marines and shit. Cause I mean, they have to be incredibly motivated to go. Like, respect to those guys.
Oh yeah.
People's are crazy. If you've ever watched like The Punisher, even though it's like it's acted out. Probably aren't real means. Maybe they were, maybe they are. I didn't look it up, but like just looking at that gives you like basically an extreme of like what some of them might have to go through, and it's
Dude, my
like,
friend plans on
wow.
going to West Point, which is a military school.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh
literally
yeah.
get to go to his college for free.
Yeah.
Like it's just straight up free.
Same thing
Oh,
for
but
me.
it's like if you do it, you have to go and do 4 years in the
Yeah.
military.
Yeah. Same thing for me. Yeah. It's 2.
And it's
After
just
2
like, oh
years.
my god.
But yeah, no, I mean, and especially being a freshman at that college, they will treat you like shit intentionally. No
Oh yeah.
questions asked. It's just it is expected. But I mean, if you go in there unexpected, you're just gonna die. But
Oh yeah. If you already aren't in like some sort of peak position, or you're
yeah,
not actually like decently.
in shape.
Yeah, if you're not in shape and you go, especially if you're not mentally in shape and go,
That'll be the worst.
oh yeah, you will not like it there.
I'm prepared for it, and I think I could handle probably just about anything.
Would you go to like, well, whatever your West Point is?
I'm going to the Air Force Academy.
Oh,
I've talked to
yeah,
you
that'll do
about
it.
this. Yeah. I mean, it's aviation. It's still military.
Hmm.
And you can go to, I mean, really any branch of military there. It just obviously focuses on aviation. But aviation and cyber are the 2 big things, because I feel like cyber and like the cyber and aviation really go hand in hand. With the new kind of stuff we're inventing, because you see drones and, I mean, shit to build planes even, right?
Yeah.
All of that is really important. Um, but like for me, just core, like being an athlete. Period. I play tennis, and though your first thought is really tennis. If you've ever really like actually played tennis yourself and tried, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard on like yourself, and especially like maybe when you start off playing tennis and you can't get the ball in. Yeah, it'll be hard on the point where, oh, the sport is hard just because I can't do it. But I mean, that's the same thing with golf. But at the same time, when it comes down to it, when you start being able to hit the ball in play and getting tougher opponents, it is the second most infuriating sport on this planet.
I bet.
Um, the top one's golf. The top one is definitely golf. Um, but it's just the athleticism to do a lot of those sports is like, I guess I was born with asthma, and I have had all of these things that happened to my lungs, and my lungs I guess have just been like getting scarred over the years just from all
You
of these
have like one of the
diseases.
worst disadvantages
Yeah,
for sports and athleticism,
and it's not it's
and yet you still do it.
yeah, but it's like, I mean, I've had like bronchitis twice, pneumonia twice, RSV as a baby, and like all of that stuff has just scarred my lungs like as I've gone through the years. And sure, it's like, oh, feel bad for me, but at the same time I've had to live with it. This is the normal for me. And the only issue with that is, I mean, especially being a freshman obviously, is I have to try to be average, you know?
Yeah.
And that comes with any sport. If you, even if your body's perfectly ready and you're in shape, you still have to try really hard to be average, because especially with boy athletes, they're fucking competitive. They go hard. And in really any sport, they will it's the sheer willpower in those people's eyes are just like, okay. But like for me, I just have to I have to put the little extra foot in. And even though I'm really considered like as an average freshman, I'm still like slightly below, you know?
Yeah.
Just, I get tired easily. My eyes, which are really important in sports, are a little bit funky. So my depth perception's a little bit funky. And so hitting the ball is a little bit funky. And though I'm good at framing and making really cheap shots, I'm also good at missing the ball. So, but when it comes to things like the Marines came over for my conditioning class in school. I take
Mm-hmm.
it's called like APC. It's like Advanced Physical Conditioning, and the Marines came over and we did all of these tests, and it's like there was this one where basically at the very end I didn't get to do it and I really wanted to just to see what I was capable of, but it was you run a 40 and back, you grab like 45 or no, you grab like 90 pounds and no, 100 pounds. You grab like 100 pounds and you drag that on a 40 and back, and then you uh lateral run a 40 and back, and then you grab two kettlebells and run a 40 and back, and then you run another 40 and back.
Jesus.
That's all we had to do. If you're in the military, you do that test, and then you run a half mile afterwards.
Gross.
Yeah. So that's not something I can really relate to because that causes that's endurance and that's tough. But things that like aren't hard on my lungs that I'm able to sit there and basically meditate on is like, have you ever done Circle of Death?
You told me about that, but no, I've never done Circle of Death.
Circle of Death is basically you get like all of your team in a circle and you all get into plank position. And usually, like for a lot of sports, there's like maybe 40 members on a team, let's say. So you like on a in a good school, but there's let's say there's 40 members in your team. You all get in plank position, and the first person into the line basically goes through this certain motion in a plank position. Like for example, what we did when I did Circle of Death was one push up, and then you tap the opposing shoulder with your hands. And then the next person in the line has to do it. And you basically have to go around the whole entire circle of 40 people. Each person has to do that. Nice, easy, and slow. And if one person falls, you have to restart.
Oh.
So you don't want to be that guy. But basically, I mean, with that, like, that is one prime example when it comes for, like, with me and willpower, in athleticism specifically. Because I would like to mention that I do have high pain tolerance, and I guess that would kind of apply here. But I feel like I don't have high pain tolerance in the sense of like, oh, like the feedback I get is less painful than other people. I think I just give less of a shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to put myself through pain to achieve some sort of goal that is worth it, at least, right? So, I mean, at that point, like, you know, not being ridiculed by your whole entire team after you dropped is a pretty good reason to go through like that amount of pain. So I mean, I basically just sat there and I meditated for probably like 5 minutes in plank position. And that is just a very niche thing to the like things that like humans are capable of when it comes to willpower. Cause I remember watching this one like inspirational video of like the army, and you know I guess it was the army was going through all of their trials or whatever. I don't remember, but basically it was like the end week, the last week that they had before graduation was called Hell Week. I'm pretty sure, and they go through all of these trials and they describe how like excruciatingly painful they are. And then, or is either that or Hell Day. But anyway, at the end of the week and at the end of the day, they all get in a pit of like mud, and have to sit in there for all night, freezing cold mud.
All night?
All night, freezing cold mud.
And what is this for?
Like the army? Some sort of military.
Oh my god.
But basically, like, yeah, I mean, just don't die, I guess.
Don't get trench foot, I guess.
Yeah. So, it was something crazy like that. It might have just been a couple hours. It might have just been for an hour. I'm not sure. But from what it sounded like all night. And it probably felt like all night for them too.
Sounds like something that goes against the Geneva Convention, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's probably an hour, honestly. But anyway, this is the thing that really like piqued a lot of people's interest watching the video. But they're sitting there in the mud. Everyone's freezing their fucking balls off. And everyone's like, I don't want to be here, man. Everyone's dead silent. You could hear the shivers of each soldier's bones in the mud. And, you sit there, and all of a sudden, you hear this shaky voice sing some old American song that you recognize. And I don't remember what that song was, but, like, it was very familiar to them, right? In a very shitty, like, shaky, squeaky voice, one person starts singing old American song. And then another joins in. And then another. And pretty soon, you have, like, probably 100 people, all in shitty, shaky voices, singing an American song all throughout the night while they're freezing their balls off in the mud. I mean, that takes some strength, man.
But not only that, like, I feel like that shows just when you're in a situation where there's so much willpower being involved, for you to just not get up, like that's what that is. It's just it is so much mental power and will to just not stand up.
Yeah.
And for you to actively see and physically feel everyone else doing the exact same thing you empathize.
Empathize?
Yeah. With everyone, and you join in. It's like it allows for the willpower to be easier if you understand that there's more people that are still willing to be with you, but are also still putting in the exact same amount of work as you.
Yeah.
It allows you to humanize everyone in a regard like that. And that right there, and I'm not saying you should ever go to that extent, but that can show you just like it pays to give that much willpower. To give it everything you've got. And again, that doesn't have to just apply to sitting in mud for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But like
simple things at school, like I was just describing, right?
Willpower is all situational based.
Yeah.
Just because you do something that takes a lot of willpower in school, and then some dude literally has to take the willpower not to, like, I don't know, nuke a whole planet. Like their weight classes are a little bit different, but that doesn't mean that the willpower involved doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
Like the willpower involved in the understanding that what you're doing has serious either repercussions or benefits, and that if what you do in that scenario is taking that much, mental exertion or physical, still does not disregard or undermine what you did. Any amount of effort and willpower that you put into a situation or scenario that is mentally exhausting is worth it if it brings you a better outcome than the one you're in now. Whether that be anything. And not everything requires 100% all the time. But definitely at some point, whether you're in school, whether you're in a job, whatever it may be, try to give it that all at least once. It never hurts. It'll be exhausting, but it'll give you a better opportunity and chance to push more next time. And don't be afraid to take something or do something that requires a lot of thought. And this can go many ways, whether it be for just physically, mentally, socially, with other people. You're always going to have those struggles, and you are going to, at some point in your life, need all of it. But don't be afraid when that time comes. It'll happen, and you just gotta be prepared. And so if you start small now, or big, you'll be able to build yourself up to that moment. So don't ever be afraid to put in as much effort as you can. Give it your all at least once.
Yeah, think about it. Like, there might be some point in your life where 50 lives are just in your hands at one, like, really hard decision, you know? And it's just, or like, you have to push yourself to save 50 of these people in this hypothetical situation. Like, that's the kind of motivation that people need to really do anything. I mean, if you have that kind of motivation for a lot of things in your life, I mean, you'll get shit done.
Oh yeah.
So
We're not saying be like that.
no, but
And it again, it doesn't have to be 50. It could just be literally 1.
yeah,
And also don't undermine other people's willpower as well. Just because they can't do certain things that you can, or vice versa, doesn't mean that they deserve or you deserve to pick on them or say that they should have done better. Because everyone has their own ideas on what they feel is top willpower for them. Because everyone's gauge is different. Some people could probably, I don't know, do half of what you could in willpower wise and still feel like they're maxing themselves out. It's kind of like going to the gym, you know? If you see someone that's very clearly new and they start off with like a 5-pound weight, you're not going to go up to them and be like, wow, what a chump. This man can't even lift 10. I can lift 130. Like, why can you lift 130? Oh, because I come here every day for 3 hours. Oh, I wonder why.
yeah.
You can lift 130 pounds with like one arm. So,
astute observation.
yeah. And then you very clearly see this guy, for me, for example, very scrawny, extremely scrawny, like 109 pounds scrawny, 5'8.5". If I were to go into the gym, the max I could probably lift is pounds, maybe.
What? I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean lift? Hold on, lift how?
Like I don't know. What's the word I'm thinking of? Curls, like maybe like 10-pound curls, maybe.
Yeah.
But again, I weigh like 109 pounds, and am a stick. I think there are most definitely sticks bigger than me. So it's like if someone came up to me and they're like 25 years old and they're like a professional bodybuilder and saying that, wow, look at you, you can't do anything. You got to
Yeah.
build yourself up. Don't discourage others or yourself for that matter, because it just takes time. And also don't try to take on every single scenario. You're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
Humble yourself a little bit.
You know, it's kind of crazy with, all of a sudden I'm just gonna get really philosophical real quick in like the middle of the podcast because we've just been like cruising around and dancing around the idea, but I want to get into specifics. Um, Humans, like as a species, since I am one, I could probably relate to it a little bit better when just generalizing people. People, um, I'd say are at some point when something clicks are just able to give a horrendous amount of willpower. And like whether like I don't know, the whether it's so weird that people are able, you see in this in movies where it's like someone's going for the bad side and all of a sudden like the last second decision they're giving it, they're all for the good side, because they're like, I was wrong. But like at the same time, do you ever like look at like is that also the same reason why in movies you see like extraterrestrial figures looking at us going like, wow, these are very dumb species, putting everything they got into something they don't even know is worth it. you know? But at the same time, you see also in those movies where like a machine or some extraterrestrial being would go, this is arrogant, I'm being defeated. This is bullshit, Just the ability for people to really give it their all is just like inconceivable. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, is that a flaw? Is that like a overarching like power that we have over a lot of species or anything? Is that natural? Just, oh, this is just survival instinct. Like, you're thinking too hard about this. But like,
That's keep going.
it's really, I mean, it's the thing that makes us human is willpower. You see it in a lot of movies, but specifically when talking about machines and they go, oh, like, people putting it all into this one thing. Sure, yes, you can boil it down to like, oh, this is because it's a survival instinct, right? And to put it their all, to cut off their tail in order to get away, it's necessary. It makes sense. But for like maybe a machine to look at it and go like, that's fucking so stupid. Why would you do that? Yeah, it's just, what's your thoughts? I don't know. It's wacky. It's a weird middle ground.
So I feel like a lot of people always wonder just why we try so hard. Like what's the purpose of trying so hard?
Mm-hmm.
And that it really shows in a lot of people that are just very, I wouldn't say cautious, but are very down when it comes to like their own self-worth and the overall self-worth of humanity in and of itself. But recently, by the way, I've found a good reason for it and a good explanation. The reason why you should give it a all is just because we can.
Yeah.
People will say that, like, oh, in the overarching end of the universe and the end of this and of our lives, nothing matters. There is no outcome that will change us dying, and there will be nothing significant left of us when we pass. It's very depressing, but it's true. But that doesn't mean you should feel discouraged or feel like that you shouldn't try.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because we are able to. We aren't bound by people's words. We have something called free will. And being able to make our own conscious decisions and our own free decisions, that means we are able to accomplish anything that we put our minds to and put our goals to. We aren't bound by some God that tells us what to do. That doesn't mean you can't follow a God, but they aren't
Well,
telling you
that's a
what to
bold
do.
statement.
But they aren't telling you what to do.
Yeah.
You still have your power to do as you please and to make the goals that you want. No one is making you do what you do. And because of that, you should act on that. You should act on the fact that no one has put you to a standard that you need to meet.
Yeah.
You can meet your own standard. And so do that. Because you will never, ever get that again. Because even if you die, no matter what religious belief you believe in, you will never have this freedom. In this day and age, you will never be able to repeat it. Whether you believe in reincarnation or you believe in heaven, hell, or anything like that, you are not going to live this body's free will. So act on it now while you still can and put in as much effort into making you feel as if you've accomplished your goals and made a change that you want to make. Because this is the only time you will be able to.
Yeah. I was actually watching one of Matt Pat's theories, which I'm not gonna like explain I'm not gonna tell him what he did. If you've ever watched like Mandela's catalog, I'm not gonna spoil it. Basically, um, there's these alternates, and they're like alternate beings, but they're different creatures that can like basically replicate humans with like unproportional looking features, and they're called like it's like it's like a certain type of them called doppelgangers. And but anyway, that's a brief description of what they are. And their method of like in Mandela's catalog, it's a analog horror, and like the creatures in this analog horror, the method of taking over their victims is through psychological warfare. And basically what they do is they end up telling their victims unwanted like information that is not wanted to be heard, right? Which basically boils down to secrets of the universe, right? So, and then basically, that diagnoses that patient with this, well, that can diagnose that victim with a thing called MAD. I'm gonna say it right this time: metaphysical awareness disorder. Last podcast, and no one's gonna know what podcast I'm referring to. I said metabolical awareness disorder, and though that does also sound like just as bad. it's not,
Metabolical.
it's not what I was aiming for. But yeah, metaphysical awareness disorder, which basically makes you aware to like information that is not desired to be known. And you see in one of the volumes this character able to be told all of like able to fearlessly encounter all of these like alternates and not be affected by it, because you've seen like in other volumes people would just like, you know, they'd encounter an alternate, the alternate would be creepy, tell them stuff, and they'd off themselves. And I mean, that takes a lot to make someone do that. Like someone who's living a perfectly healthy life all of a sudden just switch to that, you know? It's terrible. Um it truly
Are you
is.
gonna go on to the opposite? Because that was part of the
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah. So but I'm going to touch on, there was this one guy who basically he was that 3% that was able to um avoid being affected by these alternates. And the only way he was able to do that was basically just be able to desire the information, right? And sure, he had all of these creepy looking figures basically telling him how small he is compared to everything else in the universe. But if you really take it to like proportions, just go, yeah, I'm just a speck in the universe. Like in the grand scheme of things, my life doesn't make an impact on anything in this like huge place that I live in. But at the same time, I'm alive for a purpose, and I'm going to use that purpose, right? So if he just goes in there with that attitude, like there's nothing they can really do to him.
Yeah. And sticking on that subject of the Mandela catalog and the alternates, they lose all of their power the moment you are actively seeking the reason for living, making that change. That is what I believe is the purpose of living. It's just making a change, developing and growing. There's no
Yeah.
other point. Like, in my eyes, the only thing to do is to grow and experience any experience, good and bad, worse and amazing. And being able to experience all of those will lead you to the best experience of your life, which is existing. That's the whole point of it. So do that. Live the life with the reasoning of wanting to grow and learn instead of living it for someone else's purpose or for a purpose that you feel like you have to do. You can set yourself a goal that you can meet, but don't make it that is what you live for. Live open endedly in the regards of experience. Know what I mean?
A really interesting thing to note is you see someone who's probably middle aged, let's say, and they're able to get like put in everything they got, into this one thing. And you look at a lot of people, they look up to this man and they go, wow, this man is really wise. He's like I strive to be this man. Like, this man put in a lot of effort, and it's highly respectable. And then you have the other side going, he's just ignorant. He's like, I wish I was that man because of how blissful he is to how the world actually is, you know. His ignorance is just like profound, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a little bit of both. It's respectful to be that ignorant because honestly, like, in all truth, yeah, you're kind of like really defying the facts that has been presented in front of you, not necessarily denying them, but more as just okay. And
Yeah. Live like that. If someone tells you to do something that is not desirable and they say, well, you're dumb for doing that, then tell them, okay, and?
I may look dumb to you, but to other
Doesn't look dumb
people,
in my eyes.
yeah, it doesn't look dumb in my eyes. And that's not an excuse to go rob a bank.
And that's also not an excuse to, like, I don't know, not do your schoolwork.
Yeah.
This is an example for existence itself.
Yeah. You know,
You could definitely use it as an excuse, but don't. Don't undermine the small things that you have responsibility of. Because there's a difference between understanding will and the reasons to use it, but that doesn't mean to drop responsibilities for your willpower. Because if your willpower is to drop all the things you want to do for work or school, is not a good excuse to just drop them. If anything, it's more commendable and takes a lot more willpower to, actually do it. So do it.
so do it.
That goes for anything.
Have you ever in elementary school, you have that one kid that walks up to you and like tries to look smart and tries to look like, ooh, look at me, I'm defying what is commonly said. That must make me smart, you know? And people just trying to be unique. And what a lot of questions were thrown around by the people in my elementary school were going, well, I always hear people say, if you put your mind to it, you could do anything. But I'm not flying right now, am I? It's like, well, that's not the example. And it's like, well, like, if I could do anything, then I'm just not going to go to school, you know? But, yeah.
There has to be what your goals and what you put your will to needs to be realistic.
No, I'm going to counteract that with here's a different way to look at it. Yeah, you're totally right. You can't go, you could just not go to school tomorrow. Now, there will be repercussions, but it's not necessarily stopping you from doing it. You can still do it. It's in your free will. There's just repercussions.
Yeah.
And that might define that thing as bad, but who said that free will, like, only has to do with good things, you know? You could have the free will to make a bad decision.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, free will does exist. And to your stupid flying statement, we have planes, Stinky.
We have planes, Stinky.
But,
it's just,
yeah.
There's always a case, and there's always a time and a place and a case and a scenario where, yeah, you have your will to do anything you please. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to have your drawbacks and your benefits from doing so. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's not necessarily pick your poison, but more of gauge each ending that comes from whatever you do to do, or whatever you choose to do with your willpower.
Mm.
And if one of the outcomes that you depict coming out of whatever you do seems better than the other, go for it. It's your will, it's your free will. It's your reason and understanding and rationale for living. So do as you please. But never forget that there's always an opposite reaction to a reaction. I feel like that goes way beyond just, physics and goes on to metaphysics and, you know,
Psychology.
minds in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything's theoretical, so hey,
So
who knows?
interesting how this bundle of atoms in this one space is able to like conjure thoughts. You know, you ever think of that?
Yeah.
Like all of these atoms conveniently like has been built together in this one place by this system that has all of a sudden, created like this an organelle to work together to create a cell. And all those cells had um banded together to create tissue to band together to create organs to band together to create organ systems to create some sort of living being. And it all comes down to the root of like, these kind of atoms just kind of banded together and they're living.
It's a weird thing is that those atoms that created you are able to understand that they created you.
That's fucked.
Yeah. Those atoms that once created you are self-aware that those atoms are thinking of atoms.
And it's all like, how are we able to think? Actually, I don't think we understand that yet. I don't think we've really like gone too far, like as far as how we're able to like think,
It's
have
because
conscious thought.
consciousness isn't quantifiable.
Yeah.
Because with like the way humans are constructed, that's just a bunch of math and science. Theoretical math and science, but still math and science nonetheless. But with consciousness, how do you simplify consciousness?
Yeah.
You can word it, simplify, or you can simplify it through words, but you can't simplify it through math. You can't put a formula on consciousness.
Hmm. This is
And
why we
so,
have psychology.
mm-hmm,
Even then, just doesn't scratch the surface.
mm-mm.
It just doesn't get to the anatomy part, which is so confusing.
But how do you anatomize? What's like the plural for anatomy?
Anatomical, like anatomically.
Yeah, that's right. But how do you quantify, I guess, in my regard, how would you quantify consciousness? How would you quantify thinking?
Here's a wacky one. Hold on. You know how like the noun for anatomy, like no, not the noun. The verb for anatomy is anatomical, right?
Hmm?
The description word. And you think, okay, anatomical, atomic, that makes sense because, atoms build up like everything and it builds up living things, right? Anatomical. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And um but like it's really weird because it also makes sense where anatomy got its name because the root word Tommy means to cut, like
Mm-hmm.
dissection. So, like, I don't know, that's funky to me because I've always thought, like, oh, anatomy refers to, like, the atoms of, like, of the living beings. No, it really just refers to dissection.
Basically.
Okay. Well, that's wacky.
Why do we have will?
Survival instincts. I already explained that.
That's fair.
Like, again, cutting off the tail in order to get away. Willpower. It's the ability to
Weird.
knowingly lose part of yourself in order to survive.
And it's weird to think that that grows back.
Maybe.
Which, in that regards, matter is just being reconstructed, right? Because matter can't be created nor destroyed.
With some exceptions, I guess. I mean, you can split atoms, can't you?
I'm thinking of energy.
Yeah.
But energy can be expelled
Mm.
and used, but we're getting on a very weird tangent.
Welcome to the Midnight Milk Podcast.
Open-ended podcast
A
where we
weird
talk
tangent.
philosophy.
Yep.
God, I'm still thinking about that quote.
Yep. It's our YouTube
Space is all
description
big
now.
quote, huh?
You want to read that quote live?
I
Or
would
do you
love
want
to.
me to read it?
It's up to you.
No, it's up to you because you found the quote.
That's fair. You know what? Okay, I'll give my little backstory behind this quote, and I'll read it.
Okay.
So the other day, the night we finished our last podcast, the one that was posted like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Well, at the time of recording, but I was just like, you know what? Let's just go watch some Vsauce because I think we had mentioned it, and we were just, having a good time about it. And in the video, what will we miss? And it was talking about what we'll miss when we die. And this is millions, billions, trillions of years into the future. Either way, point
yeah,
still
it
is.
was the video where he talked about the galaxy colliding with us.
Yep. And in that video, hold on, let me turn down my wallpaper because it's got music on it. Let me turn this down. Okay. This is the exact quote from him. Our galaxy is full of stars. Viewed from the surface of the Earth, they look like little drops of milk in the sky, which is why we call it the Milky Way galaxy. But all galaxies are evidently named after milk. Milk. Lactose. Lactic. Galactic. You get galaxies at the end of that. And every drop of milk in the sky, every star that you can see is inside our galaxy, the Milky Way. And to add on to that for me, and you can only see the stars at night. The Midnight Milk Podcast.
Encore!
And real fast, I do kind of want to elaborate. Like, I knew that our podcast was supposed to be open-ended in the regards that, milk is just one of those things that, it's supposed to be tied with philosophy in our regard, just because, you wake up at the middle of the night, you're thirsty, you get out of bed, like, half tired, half awake, in that, like, middle area, you walk downstairs, pour yourself a cold glass of milk, put the milk carton back, you take that first sip, and then it's just whoosh. Everything just floods into your head. Every thought, every conceivable future end, anything, boom, right there in your head.
But you're still tired.
You're still tired, so you can't grasp it and you don't remember it.
Okay.
It's like
Are you
one
saying
big
you
dream.
don't grasp and remember this podcast, Storm?
Nope, not at all, never.
That is facts.
What podcast?
That is facts. I don't grasp or remember like what we talk about usually.
But I didn't think about it that far. But forgetting that milk is tied to existence itself. In the sense of the galaxy, of course. But that right there was just insane to me. to read.
So anyway, we're all milk people, and we're all trying to get to the center of the milk tootsie pop that is our galaxy.
Are we gonna create a cult now? The Midnight Milk Cult.
Milksgate. Oh my god.
Milksgate.
That's a bad joke.
That's a really bad joke, but it's funny. I feel like I really want someone to do some art of the Milky Way
Not
galaxy.
a Milksgate.
Not a Milksgate. No. But of the Milky Way galaxy, but with milk, and have the Midnight Milk podcast.
And
be
if you think we're absolutely like lunatics referring to that, watch our previous podcast so you get some sense of it.
Oh yeah.
It was like the one before that. It was the one before that.
Was it?
It was the delusion of the disorders.
Delusions of disorders. That's right.
Yeah.
I guess really fast. Is anyone in the chat still here from earlier? And it's been kind of quiet.
No, they're probably just like have it on in the background.
Probably.
And honestly, like, okay, even if we get no live viewers, it's still like whoever wants to tune in, you know, on YouTube and just have it on in the background. Props to you. Hi.
Oh yeah.
We're watching
Hello. Wake up!
you. You probably actually woke
apologize.
someone up.
Yeah, I
That's what you
apologize.
mean.
I'll probably turn that one bit down.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tired, man.
I can hear it in your voice.
It's been a week.
It has been a week. We could cut it short if you wanted. Only an hour 30.
Yeah, hour 30. I'm not cutting it short like at this instance, but
No.
hour
but
30
yeah, like
will do it in for me.
All right, we can do it in an hour 30. So we got about 20. No, we started a bit late. We started about 15. So
Hour 40.
yeah, we'll go to an hour 40.
But you know, it's crazy to look at this podcast and go, you know, we start off and we're like all drowsy and like, yeah, school sucks. And then we get to the middle and all of a sudden my voice gets proper and we're talking about like actual like deep shit. You know, Storm has this like everyone's ass clenches, like everyone ass cheeks clenches for a second kind of moment. And then
Is that what we're gonna call my little
philosophical
my
rants.
inspirational quotes?
Yeah. That's what we're gonna call it.
Storm's ass clinch moments. Someone get on those edits.
Someone don't get on those edits.
I don't want to see that on my For You page.
I don't want to see that. Period.
Storm's ass cheek clinch moment.
That's like a Fortnite clip.
Bruh. God.
I was about to start talking about like YouTubers for a second. I don't know why, but that's been on my mind. Man, I've been coming home from school and I've been just taking hour naps. Actually, before the season started. I still do now. By the way, yeah, so for me, like I'm now managing for like a girls season in tennis, which is basically for tennis it's just a free extra season because they have boys and girls in different seasons. And I mean, basically, sure, you set up things like nets and ball carts and all that and do manager stuff, but you also just get to hit around with your friends, really learn some new stuff about tennis. It's just more tennis. It's more sports. It's fun. But I mean, ever since that started, like I get home at like 6 now. So I don't really get that like luxury of an hour's sleep anymore because I have like stuff to do. So, but like usually when I'd come home at like 3:20, I would have like an hour or two nap and then wake up at like 4 or 5 and then I'd still have the rest of my day, you know? But now I get home at 5, so or at 6. So it's like, well, I have done extra. I'm more tired. And I can't even take a nap anymore.
Yeah.
So, it's wacky. Schools should push their starting time like an hour later.
Honestly,
I'm sick of waking up
that.
I'm sick of waking up at 5:45 a.m. every morning.
I don't know about you, but this podcast is going by really slow.
Yeah. This week is going by really slow. Just get it over with already.
This week went by so fast for me.
Well, something's wrong with you. I feel like
Like,
this will just be one of those slow podcasts that we just kind of pop out. It's like, oh, it's mid. Move on to the next one, really. And I'm
very
fine with that.
philosophical towards the middle in the end, but
Yeah, but like, I'm fine with that just because it's like, it's a podcast.
yeah, it's a midnight milk podcast, no doubt.
Not every swig of milk will be universe expanding kind of thoughts, but you might just have those kind of shower thoughts where you go,
Yeah. Some days you wake up at 6 in the morning, you get downstairs and grab your milk, and you go on with your day.
Yeah.
I'd be very annoyed if my milk did that to me every single time.
I would too.
Because quite frankly, I love milk. Even though, when you really think about it, milk is very unhealthy for you. Or it's not unhealthy for you, but it's like, the older you get, the more worse milk gets for you. Because you produce less lactate. Which is, is it lactose?
I don't know.
No.
Milk is
lactose. Milk is from lactose.
Lactose
I think
tolerance.
The older you get, the less lactate.
Sounds like you've already lost your tolerance.
The less of the chemical that breaks down lactose you produce. So the older you get, the worse milk affects your body.
Yeah.
But is the reason why, but it's the reason why when you're a kid, they say you should drink a lot of milk. Because you have a lot of lactate, which means that... Big bones. Although there's a lot better ways to get bigger bones. And even then, milk doesn't do that much to your bones. It just gives you calcium. And there's better ways to get calcium.
Like?
Supplement pills, like, calcium pills. Or you could just actually eat beans. Beans are really high in calcium.
Supplements are not really meant, like, we're not really meant to consume supplements.
No, but at the same time, if you don't want to drink milk or you can't eat beans, because for whatever reason.
Yeah, but drink milk, eat beans, and if you have to, sure. But don't make it like, I don't think any of us, this for my calcium.
I don't think me or you are ever going to be calcium deficient just because of how much milk I drink.
Yeah.
My calcium transfers over to you as well. Bless you.
Monkey. Yeah, I sneeze. I think I lost my willpower right about when I got to tennis, because we had indoor practice, and indoor practice sucks balls, it's buns, and I like tennis, but not that kind of tennis. It's just it's annoying to play tennis in a gym. It's annoying. I don't like it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Clearly not to be tennis there. So, but you just have to be there to see it. It's fun. Like, it's fun for like practicing your volleys, your serves, but putting everyone on a court, like basically everyone on the same string of net, and like 40 kids on the same net, all having to play tennis and not hit each other.
Yeah.
And especially from far back too, it's just a hazard. In a gym. But
yeah, that's not as bad as kickball. The first day I ever got social media, which was Snapchat, this is what happens. We go to the gym. We decided to play kickball. Or like basically like kick baseball. And next thing you know, my friend Liam goes up, right? He kicks the ball so hard. It goes up. It comes back down.
Okay, that's a good thing.
But glass comes with it because he hit a light.
I've never had that happen.
It was so funny. All you see is poof,
Yeah. Oops.
and it broke it popped a fuse.
Yeah.
So all the lights went out, and there was a light hanging down from the ceiling, and then light fell, almost hit my friend Brent in the head.
Nice. The willpower that guy had to talk to the authorities.
Oh no, it was fine. He didn't get in trouble.
Like, teachers would have been mad. Like the PE teacher, the coach.
Oh, he was just like, I guess we're not playing kickball again. It was an accident, so they didn't really get angry.
No, my PE teachers would always. My PE teacher would be fuming. Not my coach, but like my PE teacher. Like in middle school, they'd be fuming. They'd be like, "You're paying for that."
Really?
Maybe.
They wouldn't make us do that.
I mean, they'd ask. Maybe they might make them. They might request very violently.
Violently?
Because it's not in their power. Either that or
Yeah.
they'll just be chill, which is like a 1 in a million for middle school PE teachers.
That's fair.
Because, I mean, they have to put up with middle schoolers every day. I don't know. Why would you want to be like a middle school and elementary school PE teacher? Sounds kind of boring. Well, this podcast is coming to an end. You want to talk about dots?
Dots or ass?
This podcast wasn't that bad, actually. It was
No, this
pretty,
podcast
it was
wasn't.
pretty good.
It was
But
decent.
it's not. At least it's not as bad as dots.
It's yeah. No.
That should be your motivation for for next week. Which say in your head every time you fail, you go, "This isn't
At
as
least
bad as
I'm not as bad as dots.
At least I'm not as bad as dots, because dots taste so bad."
Dots or ass.
Yeah. Period.
You know why dots are ass?
No, I don't, and I don't want to know anymore.
That's fair.
I have calluses on my fingies from conditioning, and one of them blistered.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cool story, buddy.
I was playing tennis, and I went to the trainer, and I was like, "I need a band-aid because I can't hold my tennis racket." And they went, "Okay, we have these knuckle band-aids that work pretty good for palms." It did not work good for my palm, to the point where they're like, "Oh, let me just wrap a bandage around that." The bandage didn't secure the band-aid at all, so now I have this cast-looking thing for my arm. So now, I have less mobility in my left hand, and the band-aid just fell off, immediately. It did nothing. So I was like, "Thank you."
L.
And then, the next morning, I'm like, "Oh, this looks pretty bad. Let me just put a bandage on it so I don't, rupture anything or get infected." And it just normal bandage. It just sticks on. Okay.
Oh.
I don't know. I had these very fancy bandages that, fits perfectly around my finger. You could have just put a normal band-aid on there, and it would have worked 10 times better.
That's too easy.
It's too easy. That's for simpletons. We have knuckle band-aids.
It's just too damn bad.
Yeah, I don't have the willpower to finish this podcast with anything philosophical. That'll be my excuse. Pretty good title, though.
For wait, what?
We had a pretty good title.
Oh yeah, we did.
Just didn't necessarily follow through with the content.
I wanted this one to be a little more chill.
Clickbait. Oh, it was going to be whether we wanted it or not.
Oh
why
yeah.
Why is the users in chat box glowing? Well, it's not anymore.
What? Zenith, are you okay?
I'm just tired, man.
You should take a nap. You should go to bed after this.
Yeah, I will.
Wait, did I say take a nap or go to bed?
You said both.
I did?
Yep.
Whoopsie poopsie. Yes, I really did just say whoopsie poopsies. I
Remember
do that a
to
lot.
edit that clip.
What?
Monkey.
Message me.
Monkey.
It's gonna be really difficult.
Monkey. I'll tell you
Monkey.
how to do it.
Swag.
Monkeys are pretty cool.
You are a monkey, you monkey man.
Yep. I feel like I'm not about to do this last 10 minutes.
You know what? That's honestly fair.
Do you have some very philosophical, motivational speech you
I
wanna?
got one last thing to say.
Okay.
Is that we definitely did diverge off of a pretty serious-ish topic in the sense that it could have such a deeper meaning, and I feel like we definitely did touch on that quite a bit. But just never forget that no matter how much willpower you put into something, doesn't undermine the fact that you put willpower into something. Don't let people say that you're not putting in effort when you are, unless you just genuinely aren't. But also don't let that discourage you from putting effort into something. Remember that all the effort that you can give is good effort. So continue to strive to do that. And always be making sure that if you feel like it is better in your will to do something, weigh both your options for the negative and the good, and whichever outweighs which or either or, then choose the one that you feel would best affect your life. So yeah. Keep your willpower with you. It's a really strong habit to have and a really good skill to take with you after either you graduate or are already graduated. So yeah, remember, willpower is always subjective and from person to person. So never forget that. But with that out of the way, I would just like to thank all of you for watching this week's Midnight Milk podcast and joining us on this Midnight Milk ride. Once again, there will be no podcast next week, the 25th on Friday. So go ahead and put that in your calendars, which I know we are so important that you weekly mark us in. But yeah, this was your host, Storm or Jackson, and your co-host, Zenith or Braden, either or.
Hi.
So with all that out of the way, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and we will most definitely see you when we come back in 2 weeks. See ya.
Yeah, on a serious note though, take care.